You've entered the red light files. Let's begin. Story 1. The man who rented the room next door wasn't on the lease. I moved into this apartment complex last fall after a breakup. It wasn't much, small kitchen, thin walls, low ceilings, but it was affordable, and I was desperate for a reset. The place came with just enough silence to make you feel alone, and just enough noise to remind you weren't. Especially from the unit next door, apartment 13B. Strange introductions. The day I moved in, I passed a man coming out of 13B. He looked ordinary. Gray hoodie, jeans, maybe early 40s. His expression was flat, like he hadn't blinked in too long. He didn't smile, didn't nod, just stared a moment too long and walked past. I assumed he was my neighbor. But when I picked up my lease at the front office, I asked about him. "Oh, that unit's empty," the manager said. "We've been waiting on renovations. Shouldn't be anyone living there." I didn't know what to say. "Maybe it was a contractor," she offered. "Maybe," I replied. "But contractors don't enter and exit at 3 a.m. The sounds at night." It started slowly. Shuffling. Floor creaks. Sometimes soft knocking, like someone tapping the wall with their knuckles. I convinced myself it was the building settling, old wood, bad insulation, whatever. Then I started hearing voices. Not full conversations. Just murmuring. Whispers that stopped the second I tried to listen. One night, at around 2:30 a.m., I pressed my ear to the wall. And I heard someone breathing. Right on the other side. Long, slow. Intentional. A visitor from 13B. A week later, I woke to a knock at my door. It was the man from 13B. He didn't introduce himself. Just stood there, hands in his pockets, head tilted slightly. "Hey," he said. "You've been listening." I blinked. "What?" "At night. Against the wall." "That's rude." I laughed awkwardly. "Sorry, I didn't mean." "Don't do it again." Then he turned and walked back into 13B. I was too stunned to follow. The next morning, I reported it. Told the building manager. She insisted, again, that 13B was unoccupied. When we went to check, she unlocked the door herself. It was empty. Completely empty. No furniture. No signs of life. No man. Things got worse. I started locking every door and window obsessively. One night, I woke up to the sound of my bathroom faucet running. I live alone. I got up, heart pounding, and walked slowly to the bathroom. The door was open. Steam was rising from the sink. And written on the fogged mirror were the words, "I hear you too." I didn't sleep that night. The footage. I bought a small security camera and aimed it at the front door. 2 nights later, I reviewed the footage. At exactly 3:13 a.m., the man from 13B walked into frame. He stood at my door. Not knocking. Just standing there, staring at the peephole. He stayed for exactly 3 minutes and 13 seconds. Then turned and walked away, not toward the stairs, but toward a blank wall, where he vanished from frame. I took the footage to the police. They said the man's face was distorted, like the image had glitched or been altered. But it hadn't. I don't even know how to edit video. They said they'd look into it. They never called back. Final detail. A week later, a neighbor moved into 13B. A woman, mid-30s, nice enough. I told her about the noises. The man. The mirror. She smiled politely. Thought I was joking. Then, last night, she knocked on my door. Pale. Shaking. "Did you ever talk to him?" she asked. "Who?" "The man who lives in my closet. He said you used to listen, too." Story 2. I was in every photo from my friend's vacation, but I didn't go. Last summer, my friend Danny took a 2-week solo trip through Europe. He hit the usual spots: London, Paris, Rome, stayed in hostels, took a ton of photos, and posted everything when he got back. We caught up the night he returned. I picked him up from the airport, we grabbed fast food, and he showed me a few of the pics on his phone. That's when I noticed something off. In one of the pictures, a selfie of him in front of the Eiffel Tower, there was someone in the background, wearing the same jacket I own. Not just one. At first I thought, weird coincidence. Same jacket. Whatever. But later that week, he uploaded the full album to a shared cloud folder. Hundreds of shots from all over Europe. And I was in more than one. In fact, I was in almost all of them. Somewhere, in the background, across the street, on a bench, in the reflection of a shop window, there I was. Same hair. Same backpack. Same jacket. Same face. I never left the country. I triple-checked everything. My passport hadn't been used in years. I had never been to Europe in my life. I didn't even have the time off work. And yet there I was. In Paris, behind Danny at a bakery. In Rome, crossing the street behind a tram. In London, standing on the edge of frame near a statue, blurry, but unmistakably me. He laughed at first. I brought it up to Danny the next day. He laughed it off. Said it must have been someone who looked like me. You're not that unique, bro. But then I showed him one of the photos up close, one where the guy, me, was walking directly behind him on a narrow alley. His smile dropped. Okay, yeah, that looks just like you. He scrolled through more. When he reached a photo from a night in Rome, he froze. It was a picture he'd taken of a historic fountain. Low light. Slight motion blur. And behind him, partially hidden in the dark, was my face, staring directly at the camera. Metadata doesn't lie. I downloaded the photos and checked the metadata. Every one of them matched the location, date, and time Danny claimed. There were no edits. No Photoshop. And yet, there I was, dozens of times, in places I had never been. A video made it worse. Danny also recorded short clips with his phone. I found one where he was walking through a busy market. Background noise, music, chatter. He pans the camera casually across the crowd. And for a split second, it catches a man looking directly at him. Wearing my clothes. Holding the same phone case I own. And smiling. That smile still makes my skin crawl. Because I know my own smile. And that wasn't it. I checked my own photos. Just for the hell of it, I looked through my phone gallery for the same dates. I didn't remember taking many pictures that week, but weirdly, I had over 60 photos I didn't recognize. Black frames. Blank images. Except one. A photo of Danny sleeping on a train. Taken from 2 rows behind him. I've started seeing him. About 2 weeks later, I was walking to work when I saw someone across the street. Same build. Same hair. Same way of walking. He didn't look at me. But something in me knew that was him. Since then, I've seen him twice more. Never close. Always just barely out of reach. But getting closer. Final update. Yesterday, Danny texted me something simple. I just got a letter in the mail. It has a photo of me, sleeping. And you're standing over me. But I wasn't there. I hadn't seen him in days. And this morning, there was a photo under my door. Danny. In his bed. And behind him, in the window's reflection, both of us. Story 3. The hallway outside my apartment is longer at night. I've lived in the same apartment building for 3 years. It's not fancy, a narrow 5-story complex with dim lighting, creaky pipes, and hallways that always smell faintly of dust and old carpet. But the rent is manageable, and I'm not picky. Until a few months ago, I never had a problem with the place. That changed the night I forgot my keys. Something felt wrong. It was late, almost 2 a.m. I'd just gotten back from my overnight shift and realized I'd left my keys at work. My roommate was out of town, so I had to wait for a locksmith. While I waited in the hallway, I walked around, just pacing to stay awake. The hallway was quiet, but after a few laps, I noticed something odd. It felt longer. I counted the doors. Normally, our floor has 6 apartments, 3 on each side. But that night, I counted 7. Then 8. Doors I didn't recognize. Numbers I'd never seen before: 3B, 3E, 3F. Our hallway only goes to 3D. I walked back to the stairwell to reset my bearings. Then walked forward again. Still more doors. The lights were off. I turned around to walk back, and the lights behind me had gone out. Only the ones ahead stayed on. I wasn't scared at first. Just confused. Sleep deprived. Until I heard something. Not a voice. Not footsteps. Breathing. Just beyond the next light. Low and steady. I stepped forward. The light flickered. No one was there. But the breathing continued. The elevator that doesn't exist. I don't have an elevator on my floor. But in that hallway, the extended, too long version, there was one. Plain silver doors with a cracked display reading -1. It was open slightly. And from the gap, I swear I heard whispering. Not yet. Not this time. I turned and ran back toward my unit. The hallway was shorter now. Back to normal length. No extra doors. No elevator. Just my familiar door. And a locksmith standing in front of it. Was it just exhaustion? That's what I told myself. But I started watching. And I realized something strange. The hallway only feels longer after midnight. Every night I've walked it since, just a test, there's always a moment where I lose count of the doors. Where the numbers shift. Where the air feels colder. Heavier. And I hear that same slow breathing. One night, I followed it. Last week, I got brave, or stupid, and walked all the way down the extended hallway. The lights dimmed with each step. The air thinned. Eventually, I reached a door labeled 3Z. I touched the handle. Cold. Inside was darkness. Not just unlit. Void. No walls. No floor. No ceiling. But I heard my own voice whispering from inside. You shouldn't be here. I'm not the only one. I told my neighbor about it. An old guy named Harold who's lived here since the 90s. He just nodded slowly and said, You finally noticed it too, huh? Don't ever go past 3G. That's when they can see you. I asked what they meant. But he closed his door. Final update. Last night, I came home late again. The hallway looked normal. Until I reached my door. There was a new one across from it. Labeled 3U. And I swear, I could hear breathing inside. But this time, it matched mine. Story 4. Someone left me a flash drive labeled, Play When You're Alone. I found it in my mailbox. No envelope. No packaging. Just a plain black USB drive with a torn piece of masking tape on one side. Written in Sharpie, barely legible. Play when you're alone. At first I thought it was a prank. College dorms are full of bored people with nothing better to do. But there was no note, no context, and no return address. And that's what made it feel deliberate. Like it was meant for me. The files. I waited until after midnight. My roommate was gone for the weekend, and the silence in the apartment felt just right for something like this. I plugged the flash drive into an old laptop, not my main one, just in case. It contained a single folder. Named, nothing_to_c. Inside. A .txt file titled lookcloser.txt. A .jpg named bedroom.jpg. A video file called already_watching.mp4. The text file. I opened the .txt file first. It said, "You've already seen me. You just didn't realize it. Let's fix that." Then, beneath it, a line of code looking gibberish. I copied it into a translator, nothing. Tried hex, base 64, Morse. Nothing made sense. Then I realized it wasn't for reading. It was a password. For the video file. The photo. The photo was dark. Grainy. A bedroom. My bedroom. Same bookshelf. Same lamp. Same crooked poster in the back. But the photo was taken from outside the window. At night. And in the reflection of the glass. There was a figure. Standing just behind me. The video. I used the string from the .txt file as the password. It worked. The video was low-res, black and white, no sound. Security cam style angle, positioned in the corner of a room. My room again. The time code at the bottom read 2 nights ago, a night I'd slept alone. The footage played for 10 seconds showing me asleep. Then I shifted slightly in bed. And a figure emerged from the closet. They moved slowly, carefully. Wearing dark clothes. Masked. They stood at the foot of my bed for over a minute. Then bent forward, inches from my face. Then the screen cut to black. The ending. When the video ended, a new file appeared in the folder. A .txt name still _alone. I opened it. It said, "I left you a gift. Check under your bed." I didn't look. I shut the laptop. I turned every light on. I didn't sleep. I didn't check under the bed. The next day, I left the apartment and haven't been back since. Final update. I tried giving the flash drive to campus security. They claimed it was empty. No folder. No files. No video. They looked at me like I was messing with them. Now, every night around the same time the video was recorded, I hear a click. Like a USB drive being inserted. Even when all my laptops are off.
If you made it this far, thanks for staying with me. Some of these stories, they stay with you longer than you'd expect. Take care of yourself out there. And as always, stay safe.